Hello everyone, I welcome you to this particular video. In this video, I'm going to solve put some lemmas. Okay, let's see the first lemmas. The lemma on normal subgroups and quotient groups. So the first lemma, first one. N is a normal subgroup of G. N is a normal subgroup of G subgroup of G if only if G and G inverse equal to N, G and G inverse equal to N for all G belongs to G. For every G belongs to G. This is the lemma statement. Now we do this. Okay, this is two-sided proof. Since if and only if involves, so N is a normal subgroup of G. Now we need to prove that G and G inverse equal to 1. Next, conversely, you have to assume this one. G and G inverse equal to N. Then prove N is a normal subgroup. Okay. Now I am going to prove the easiest one. So let us assume that, or let G be a group. First, we'll just write let G be a group. N be a subgroup. N be a subgroup of G. N be a subgroup of G. Suppose that G and G inverse is equal to N for every G belongs to G. Now we need to prove that, to prove N is normal in G, or N is a normal subgroup of G. This is what we need to prove. So to prove N is normal in G, we can prove that G and G inverse subset of N for all G belongs to G. Okay, if we prove this, then we can prove the lemma in one side. Okay, now since G and G inverse is equal to N, then obviously G and G inverse will be subset of N for all G belongs to G. Hence, N will be normal in G. That is, since G and G inverse equal to N for every G belongs to G, implies G inverse is subset of N for every G belongs to G. Thus, N is a normal subgroup of G. Okay. This is one side of a proof. Now let's prove in the other direction sideways. Conversely, okay, and I am going to assume conversely, suppose that, now assume that N is a normal subgroup of G. Conversely, suppose that N is a normal subgroup of G. To prove that G and G inverse is equal to N for all G belongs to G. Okay. Since N is a normal subgroup, of G, we know that G and G inverse is subset of N for all G belongs to G. Let it be equation 1. Okay. Now, G and G inverse subset of N. Okay. What do you say about G inverse NG? Okay. What can you say about G inverse NG? So consider G inverse Ng. Okay, I can write G inverse Ng as G inverse N is equal to G inverse N, G inverse the whole inverse, right? I can write G as G inverse the whole inverse. So let G inverse equal to some G dash. Okay, so G dash N G dash inverse G N G inverse. Okay, where G dash belongs to G. Okay, so this is both are same. Therefore, G dash N G dash inverse will also be a subset of N, which implies G inverse N G will also be subset of N. The inverse doesn't matter. Okay, inverse G you can interchange it. Okay, G and G inverse or G inverse N G or typically the same one. Okay, now I can write N as G inverse G inverse, because this is E, N into G inverse. Okay, so this becomes E and this becomes E, so N into. Okay, using associative property, G inverse N G inverse. Okay, associative. Okay, now equal to, what about this G inverse Ng? This belongs to N, right? This particular G inverse Ng belongs to N. That's what we just saw. Okay, now I can write it as G, which is nothing but G, or I can write it as N subset of G N G inverse. Okay, thus N is subset of G N G inverse is 2. So from 1 and 2, N is equal to Gn G inverse for all G belongs to G. Hence the proof of the first lemma. Okay. Second one, the second lemma. Second lemma. The subgroup N of G is the subgroup N of G is a normal subgroup of G if and only if every left coset of G, every left coset of N in G is a right coset of N in G, is a right coset of N in G. Okay, let me explain the lemma statement. The subgroup N of G, okay, is a normal subgroup if and only if every left coset of N in G is a right coset of N in G. Okay, that is, if there is a left coset AH or AN, then this particular left coset will be equal to some right coset. Okay, whatever left coset for A belongs to G, if we can find the left coset, then there exists B belongs to G such that the right coset NB will be equal to AN. Okay, this is what we need to prove. Okay, assuming this, since this is also an if and only if statement, now we have to assume the first part, N is a normal subgroup, then prove that every normal subgroup is every left coset of N and G is a right coset of N and G. Similarly, next we have to assume that every left coset of N is right coset, then we have to prove that N is normal. Okay, now first we assume that N is a normal subgroup of G. Okay, let G be a group and N be a subgroup of G. Subgroup of G. Now we need to prove that. We need to assume first. Suppose that N is normal in G. Hence, we need to prove that every left coset of N in G is right coset of N in G. Okay, this is what we need to prove. Okay, now given that, we assume that N is normal. Since N is normal subgroup, since N is normal subgroup of G, N is normal subgroup of G, for every G belongs to G, for every G in G, okay? Now G and G inverse will be equal to N. This is by the previous lemma, okay? By previous lemma, this is true. If N is normal subgroup, then for every G belongs to a G, capital G, G and G inverse will be equal to N, okay? Thus G and G inverse operating G on both sides, okay? In G. So, if I use associative property, I get G inverse G is equal to Ng. Thus, Gn equal to Ng. Okay, this is left coset. This is right coset. Okay, Gn. This is G is in the left side, so left coset of G in N. This is right coset of G in N. Therefore, left coset becomes the right coset. Hence, the left coset is the right coset. Left coset Gn is the right coset Gn. Ng. Now, this value Gn, it just commuted. Okay, we should not say the word commuted because Gn, this is a set, not an element. So Gn is equal to Ng. In this, it becomes the same element. Okay, Gn equal to Ng. This happens only when N is a normal subgroup. Usually, it won't happen. Okay, only when N is normal, this will happen. That is, left coset with the same element G. If you have a coset G and N, then the right coset and the left coset will be equal. Okay, Gn is equal to Ng. Usually, it will be G dash N is equal to Ang. Okay, this particular G dash and G need not be equal. Okay, sometimes it may happen, but only it will be equal when N is a normal subgroup. Okay, when N is a normal subgroup, this G dash and G will be equal. Okay, otherwise they need not be equal. Sometimes they may come, sometimes they won't. Mostly they won't. For example, if G is E, it will. Otherwise, it won't. Okay. Now, assuming that. Now we need to prove the converse part. Conversely, assume that every left coset of N in G is the right coset of N in G. The right coset of N in G. Okay, every left coset of N in G is right coset of N in G. Okay, that is, if there exists A belongs to G such that AH exists, then there exists B belongs to G such that AH left coset is equal to HB. Okay, right coset. This is what I assume. To prove N is a normal subgroup of G. Okay. N is a normal subgroup of G. To prove N is a normal subgroup of G, we can prove that G and G inverse equal to N, or G and G inverse subset of N, whatever, we can prove it. Now, since G belongs to G, okay, I can write as G as G equal to GE. Okay, now which implies G belongs to Gn because E belongs to N, right? E belongs to N. Therefore, I can write G as a multiple of or product of G and element in N. So I can write G belongs to Gn. G belongs to Gn. Okay. Now, what will be the right coset for this particular G? That is what we need to find. What's the element G dash or whatever the element in the H G such that Gn equal to some Ng dash. What is the particular G dash? How will it be? Okay, we need to find the G dash such that Gn is equal to G dash n. That's it. So we already assumed that the left coset will be equal to the right coset. So there exists some G dash in G such that Gn is equal to Ng dash. Okay. Okay. Since every left coset is a right coset, there exists G dash belongs to G such that Gn is equal to Ng dash. Okay. Now, since G belongs to Gn, now this G will also be in Ng dash, correct? Which implies G belongs to Ng dash. It will also contain this. So this particular G and Ng dash will also contain this. Okay. G belongs to Ng dash. Now I can similarly argue this. Okay. Consider G. I can write G as Eg. Similar logic like this. Ge, I can write Ge. Therefore, which implies I can G belongs to Ng. I can even write G belongs to Ng, a right coset Ng. Okay, but G belongs to Ng dash. Thus, G is in the intersection of Ng dash. Correct. G is in the intersection of these two cosets. Now we already know that the property of the cosets, two cosets, is either they are empty or they are equal. Okay, two cosets, two right cosets or left cosets or contains no element in common, or they are equal. Okay, this is the important property of cosets. So G is in both. So contains no element. I mean the concept when it just violates. Okay, so it has some element in common. Therefore, Ng is equal to Ng dash. Okay, thus I can write Gn is equal to Ng dash. Instead of Ng dash, I can write Gn is equal to Ng. Okay, operating G inverse on both sides, I can write G inverse G n is equal to G inverse Ng. Therefore, n is equal to G inverse Ng. Hence, n is normal subgroup of G. Okay, this is the particular proof of this lemma. Okay, now there's another lemma, sorry, theorem. It's not lemma, it's theorem. Okay, I'm sorry, it's theorem. Theorem. If G is a group, if G is a group, N a normal subgroup of G, then G over N. What is G over N? A new notation. G over N is nothing but collection of all the right cosets of N in G. Okay, collection of all the right cosets. That's called G over N. This G over N is a group. The G over N is also a group. It is called the quotient group or the factor group. It is called the quotient group or the factor group or the factor group of G by N. Of G by N. I'm sorry, small factor by N. So we are going to prove this theorem. We are going to prove that G over N is a group. Okay, G is a group. An important thing is N should be normal. If N is not normal, then G over N will not be a group. So G is a group. N is a normal subgroup. It should be normal subgroup of G. Then only G over N will be a group. This particular G over N, the collection of all the right cosets. Okay. If N is normal, then every right coset is also left coset. So if N becomes normal, the right coset and the left coset becomes a single coset. Okay, there is no difference in right coset and left coset because Gn is equal to Ng. So we can make use of the name as coset, simply as coset instead of telling right coset or left coset. Okay, if G is a group, N a normal subgroup, then we can say G over N is a collection of all set of all cosets of N and G. Okay. Now we'll see how this particular set G over N becomes a group. So in order to prove a group, we need to prove four conditions. This is not a subset to become a group. This is a formed within outside the set, outside the group G. Okay. So we cannot use the subset concepts as proving only the closure and inverse. We need to prove all the four conditions because it is not a subset of G. G over N is not a subset of G. It is completely outside G. Okay. Now we need to prove the closure property. Now let's define G over N. Okay. Let G be a group and N be a normal subgroup of G. Okay. Now define G over N. I'm just defining G over N as N G. Okay, this is the set Ng for all G belongs to G. The collection of all the cosets, either left coset or right coset, you can mention anything. Okay, I'm just mentioning right cosets. Ng for all G belongs to G. This is the set G over N. Okay, now we need to find the closure of it. Now to prove G over N is a group. Okay, now we need to find closure, whether it satisfies closure. To prove closure, G over N satisfies closure property or closure axiom. Okay. Okay. So for that I have to take two elements. Let capital X comma Y belongs to G over N. The G over N set contains all the coset. Okay, this is also a set, so I just use the capital letter. XY belongs to G over N. Now we need to prove that XY belongs to G over N. X into Y belongs to G over N. This is what we need to prove. Okay, for closure. Since X belongs to G over N, X is equal to some Ng. Okay, now I can make use of Na since I used Ng lot. So X equal to Na and Y is equal to Nb for some A comma B belongs to G. Okay, now xy is equal to, or x into y, the operation xy is equal to, the operation is multiplication here, so xy is equal to uh, not multiplication actually, it's an operation of g. Okay, xy is equal to Na Nb, it is equal to which is equal to Na Nb. Now we know that the operation between two operations, okay, Na Nb is nothing but N of A operated B. If it is multiplication, you have to write AB. Now Na Nb is operated. What is the G's operation? If it is dot multiplication, you have to use AB here. A dot B. If it is plus here, G is plus, then Na dot Nb is N of A plus B here. Okay, depending upon the operation of G, we have to use it. Na dot Nb is equal to N of A star B. Okay, you can even use x star y. That's nothing wrong in it. X star y, you can use x star y. So usually, if you want to suppose if it is A plus H, I am taking left causal. Okay, A plus H and B plus H. If the G is operation and addition, now what is A plus H into B plus H? In G over H is nothing but A plus B plus H. Okay, A plus B plus H. That is the operation is plus here. So I have to add A and B plus H. That's it. So same logic here. Okay, Na into Nb is nothing but N of A operated with B. This operation is nothing but G's operation. Okay, NAB. Since the theorem is based on multiplication, I am going to multiply A into B. So NAB. So XY equal to NAB. Okay, NAB is a right coset. Okay, AB is a right coset, which implies XY belongs to G over N, because NAB is also a right coset. AB, okay, since AB belongs to G, AB belongs to A comma belongs to G, AB belongs to G. Now AB will be some element C which belongs to G. So instead of AB, I can write it as C, where AB is equal to C. So XY equal to NC. So it's also a right coset or a coset. XY is also a coset. So product of two cosets is also a coset. Okay. Therefore, XY belongs to G over N. Now second property, associative. That is, let x comma y comma z belongs to G over N. Need to prove that xy z is equal to xyz. This is what we need to prove this one. So xyz belongs to G over N. Therefore, let x is equal to Na, y is equal to Nb, and z is equal to Nc for some A comma B comma C belongs to the group G. Okay. Now taking the LHS, x, y, z is equal to Na, Nab, now outside Nc equal to NaNb. What is NaNb? We know that obviously Nab into Nc. Now again you have to do this. NAB, NB, which is nothing but NABC, right? NAB, now C, you have to do this, NABC. Now using closure property, ABC, this ABC is closure. Since A comma B comma C is in G, the closure is satisfied. That is, associativity is satisfied. ABC is equal to, I can write A into BC. So I can write this as N of A, B, C. Therefore, I can write it as NA, NBC. Okay, I can write NA, NBC. Now, NA, I can write this NB, NC. What is NA? X. What is NB? Y. What is NC? Z. Therefore, XYZ is equal to XYZ. Hence, the associativity is satisfied. Okay. So, associativity is also satisfied. This is how we need to prove. Now, the third one, identity. What will be the identity element? We have to find the identity element in G over N. Okay. Now, consider the element N. Consider the element N. Okay. I can write N as N, which belongs to G over N. This is the right coset. N is the right coset. Therefore, N is also a right coset. N is equal to NE. NE is the right coset. Therefore, simply N is also a right coset. Okay. So, if X belongs to G over N, some X belongs to G over N, I need to prove that X into something is equal to, or X into E is equal to E into X equal to X. This is what I need to prove. Now, I am going to check whether this particular N acts as a identity element. Okay. Now, since X belongs to Gn, I can write X as Na for some A belongs to G. Now, Xn is equal to, what about Xn? Na N. I can write N as Ne. So, which is nothing but N of AE. What is AE? Na. What is Na? X. So, Xn is equal to X. Similarly, Nx is equal to Ne, Na. Therefore, N into Ea. What is Ea? A. Therefore, Na, which is equal to X, which implies Xn is equal to Nx is equal to X. Therefore, the subgroup N acts as a identity element of the quotient group G over N. Okay. The fourth one, the final one, inverse property. Inverse property. Suppose or let X belongs to G over N. Now I need to find the X inverse for this particular G over N inside this, such that X inverse equal to the identity element N. This is what I need to find. Okay. Now X belongs to G and therefore X is equal to Na for some A belongs to G. Okay. Now, since G is a group, for every element A belongs to G, there exists A inverse belongs to G, such that A inverse equal to A inverse E is equal to E. This we know that inverse property exists in group. Similarly, I am going to consider the coset Y is equal to N A inverse. This is also a coset. The inverse of A. Y is equal to Na inverse. Now I am going to find the xy. So xy is equal to Na inverse, which is equal to NAA inverse equal to NE, which is nothing but N. Similar logic for Yx. Yx is equal to Na inverse Na is equal to Na inverse A is equal to Ne is equal to N. So xy is equal to Yx is equal to the identity element N. Therefore, Y is the inverse of X and X is the inverse of Y. Hence, for every element X, I just found an element Y belongs to Na such that the inverse exists. Therefore, G over N is a group. Okay, G over N is a group under the operation product. Okay, product product G over N it's a product. We should assume that G over N is a group under product. In the under product. Okay. So finally, one more lemma is the final one lemma. If G is a group, okay, so the G is a finite group. That's important. G is a finite group, and N is a normal subgroup of G, and N is a normal subgroup of G. Normal subgroup of G, then order of G over N. That is, the set quotient group contains how many elements, or the group G over N. Since N is a normal subgroup, G over N becomes a group. Okay, G over N group. The cardinality or the order of G over N is nothing but order of G divided by order of N. This is nothing but the index of N in G. The index of N in G. Okay, this is what we say, index of N in G. Okay, this is very easy to see. There is no proof for it. I'm just going to prove it logically. G over N, order of G over N is nothing but the number of right cosets or cosets in that particular group. Okay, that how can we calculate it? Using the equivalence theorem, we just proved everything that right coset acts as a equivalence relation. Okay, so using the Lagrange's theorem, we already proved it. Order of G over N can be written as order of G divides order of N. That's it. That's a number of right cosets. Okay, number of right cosets in number of right cosets of a subgroup H in G is the index in G. This is what the applications of Lagrange's theorem, we already proved it. Okay, order of G divided by order of H. Okay, because H has, suppose H has k elements, that is order of H equal to k, and order of G is equal to some n elements. Okay, now the number of right cosets is m. The number of right cosets in number of right cosets of H in G is say m. Okay, that is order of G divided by order of H is m. Let us assume that. Now how would m came? Okay, this is nothing but I am going to prove that this is k by n. Okay, we know that the number of the number of right cosets, not order of G by order of, okay, the number of right cosets. Assume that the number of right coset, the number of right cosets. Okay, that is order of G by order of H. I am just written correctly. Is m. How it is possible? I am just assuming this to be m. So each element, okay, H has each right coset, HE, HB, say some other element, okay, H up to HL or HM, whatever. There will be totally how many elements, how many right cosets will be there? M. Since I have taken m right cosets, okay, totally it will be m. Each right coset has how many elements? K elements. Each element has K. Now I have already told you that right coset has a property. What is the property? Either they will be equal or the intersection is empty. Now I have collected all this as distinct one. Okay, that is, I haven't collected any repetition. That is, the no two right cosets will be equal here. Okay, if it is equal, I have thrown that. I have just only took the only one of it. Okay, or only non-repetitive right cosets I have just only took. Okay, distinct one I have just taken it. So the number of right cosets here is, they are mutually disjoint. They are mutually disjoint. So if it is k here, if it is k here, and if it is k here, the total number of elements is nothing but km. K into m. The elements here k and here k. If you add it all, the total will be, there are m sets, so km. Okay, we already studied that particular, due to the equivalence relation. This is congruent relation, right? Equivalence relation, congruence. Congruence relation is the equivalent relation, and this particular congruent relation is HA is equal. We just studied that HA is equal to A congruent to H modulo. Sorry, A congruent to H mod something we just studied. A congruent X mod H, right? So this is equal. Therefore, the common relation is equal. Therefore, HE acts as a equivalence relation. That is, this entire group G is splitted equally. Okay, equally by right coset HA, HB, HC, okay, HD. Similarly, how many cosets are there? M cosets are there. So it is split at M cosets. The total number of cosets is M. Each has K elements. So totally G has K into M elements. Okay. Therefore, G order of G is equal to N is equal to K M. Therefore, the number of cosets. This is what we need, right? I don't know this. So order of G is K M divided by order of H is K. Therefore, order of G over order of H is M. Okay, that's the proof for this. So G over N is nothing but the collection of or the number of right cosets or the number of cosets. Okay, yes. Now with this, I stop. Thank you for watching.